So today I've got another update for my Homelab. I was fortunate enough to be scouring through the internet on eBay, and I found somebody selling a bundle of the mini PCs that I have. So they're the Lenovo M71 something something, I don't know. Little mini PCs that are running a Ryzen CPU. The first couple I got hold of was by chance, but then, because of the type of person I am, I actually wanted to make sure that all the PCs that I'm running for my Kubernetes cluster will run in the same CPU. I didn't want to mix the Intel ones. I could have, I just didn't want to because it would have felt uncomfortable. So I was, like I said, fortunate enough to find them. So I've now have a total of 6 mini PCs, which gives me, a really good use case, not a use case, but the opportunity to move from my single point of failure control plane worker node to 3 control planes, 3 worker nodes. One caveat, 4 out of the 6 machines are Ryzen 2400s and the other 2 are Ryzen 2200s. So as long as I ignore that, then everything is the same. Equally, I don't have the right RAM. So 3 of the control planes are on 16 gig, and then 3 of the workers are on 8 gig. A mix of either dual channel or single channel RAM. So there's some work to be done there, but it doesn't matter. Equally, I saw this as an opportunity to move from K3s, which I've traditionally always used for my home labbing, to Talos because I hear a lot about it. I used Talos in the previous setup with the 1 control plane, 1 worker, and I just followed the quick start and it was really easy to get going. So I had a look at the documentation, I went through it, and there were, they obviously has support for multiple control planes. And that was great. They also give you like 3 different options in terms of how to handle the sort of incoming traffic between the clusters. So if you're using cloud-based, it gives support for that. I'm not using cloud, I'm obviously doing bare metal in my own home network. So I opted for their VIP, which proved not challenging, but their documentation, hit and miss for me anyway. But I was able to kind of like configure it in a way that worked, but it was not without its trials and tribulations. Oh my, did I have some issues. Getting started with Talos is really easy. You go to their website, read their documentation, you build an image. Now, originally, when you first read it, you're like taken away to this new site and you build this like bespoke ISO image that you're then gonna build. But if you just go for the defaults, if you don't have anything fancy, literally just default, and that's fine. You don't really, I didn't, in my use case, I didn't have to install any external drivers, additional drivers. I didn't need to install like Cloudflare tunnels, any of that. I could have, but I didn't need to, fortunately enough. Very vanilla in terms of the ISO. And that worked the first time. This time round, I had multiple issues, and it wasn't necessarily Talos's fault. It was probably my fault as a user. As an end user, I made mistakes. First mistake I made was I did not clear the hard drives. So the machines, the bundle that I picked up, they were all previously running Windows 10. And then that, of course, creates partitions and different sort of boot sequences in the hard drive, which you have to kill. If you don't remove them, then when it comes to installing Talos, it's just not gonna work. You boot it, it runs off of the USB, and then once you define the configuration file, the system restarts. But when the system restarts with pre-existing Windows configuration, it doesn't overwrite correctly. So that was challenge number 1. I got around that by using the system recovery just on the USB. So I popped that in, wiped the disk, and I was off to the races. Disk was clean. Challenge 1 done. That was okay. And went through the process again, boot from the USB into Talos, add the details. I defined the host name and then I defined the host name and the IP, and then I ran the configuration file from a laptop remotely. That's the whole point. You don't access it through SSH traditionally like you would through any other server. You would use the Talos control, CLI, and yeah, all seemed well. I managed to get 3 of the control plane nodes done, easy peasy, all talking to each other, all working through that VIP config. So, you know, that shared IP that I defined, which, by the way, you know, you can see this is something, like if you're going to do something like this on your home network, please plan out your IPs, because you will find that so I lost an IP because Alexa decided to reboot and do an update, and it stole one of my IPs. And no, I don't have a managed router or a managed switch, so I wasn't able to reserve the IPs. I've just tried to grab them as high up the chain, like in the late 180s, in the hope that nobody would pick it. But for some reason, Alexa decided to steal it, which was great fun to try and troubleshoot. And I had to use ARP commands to find it and locate it. And then I just went downstairs and unplugged it. So, you know, that was really good. Yeah, so the control planes came up, defined the host name, defined the IP, set the config, done. Moved on to the workers, and then that's when I had other issues. So where I previously had Talos installed, then I tried to boot it again using the USB, but instead of installing on the NVMe, instead of an SSD, so the controllers are on an SSD, which it defaulted to, which is fine, it went to SDA. This was trying to put it on the USB. And you can see how that can be a problem. Like, you're installing it via USB, and then you're installing it on USB as your state drive, and everything about it was just a complete and utter headache. And I was like, why is it doing this? Like, I was defining the config correctly. I was putting NVMe in my config for the installation. Yeah, so I ended up, because I had somehow installed some of it on the USB, I had to then wipe the USB installation drive, use the recovery tool, delete the drive, like wipe the drive on the mini PC, reinstall the ISO on the USB, and go through the whole process again. And then eventually I got there. So yeah, it had its challenges. I had the conflicts around the IP allocation being stolen by other devices on my home network. I had the issues around existing Talos installations and overwriting the USB, and oh my giddy aunt, it was a chore. But yeah, you know, I digress. I'm going to show you the installation steps I did for the control plane. Like, I recorded it from scratch, and I've got a README we can go through as well. Okay, yeah, so you know how to get into the BIOS. I was bashing F12 to get into it. Okay, can you see here, this is how it boots up for the first time around. It gives you some information about the device up at the top. It's in maintenance stage. That means that it's, you know, this is from the USB. I can have a look at some of the load and whatnot here as well. But the first thing I do is I jump into F3, I define a host name, the DNS servers, and I configure the interface. So previously it picks up the interface by DHCP, which is fine. Yes, you don't have to do it this way. I could configure the IPs in the config file when I run the Talos command, but I liked doing it this way because I just felt like I could visually see what I was doing. You know, this is still new to me, I'm still learning it, and this way around I could actually interact with it and see some feedback if I'm doing it wrong. I think I used, Cloudflare as the time server, which again, I don't have to define because it can inherit it from the control plane. Any minute now. Yeah, so not a requirement, but I decided to put it in there anyway. And you can see there, it's just going through the motions again. It's updated the host name. It's still in maintenance mode. It's ready true. That status means that it's ready to receive the config that I'm going to define from my laptop. And at that point, I'm going to type in, Talos control and the endpoints, the node and the config that I want it to use. Now that we've had a quick look at what it looks like to the initial boot up, we'll go over and we'll have a look at the config file and see how I've defined it. Like, Talos has been interesting. I've had some headaches, but you know what? Now that I've actually got it running, it's really lightweight and seems pretty secure. So I'm probably going to keep it for a while. I don't know about you guys, but learning new tech and tools is really fun for me. Like, I love hearing about it, and I can't wait to dive in and try something new. As you know, learning new tech takes practice, and that's where our sponsor comes in. Brilliant is a learning app designed to be uniquely effective. Each lesson is filled with hands-on problem solving that lets you play with the concepts, a method proven to be more than 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. Brilliant helps you build understanding from the ground up and has a perfect mix of engaging problems, competitive features, and daily encouragement that keeps you motivated and on track. Plus, all the content on Brilliant is crafted by an award-winning team of teachers, researchers, and professionals from Stanford, MIT, Caltech, Microsoft, Google, and more. Brilliant starts you with mastering the foundations, then helps you level up to increasingly challenging problems. Needless to say, I lean towards the programming and computer science. Any of the courses that's going to help me with building my logic skills, they're the ones I tend to go towards. To learn for free on Brilliant, go to brilliant.org/Chris Matcham, scan the QR code on the screen, or click the link in the description. Brilliant's also giving viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gets you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant. Without further ado, let's jump into the README. So like I said, here I've actually defined my IPs. This is everything I wanted to do. Fairly straightforward, so let's make it bigger. There we go. So now you should be able to read that. So here I've actually made a note to self, because it caught me out twice, that my SSD drives are mounted at SDA, which is kind of the default, I think, that the config file comes out at. And then my other machines that have the NVMe drive, I had to update that. So I've made a real point about that. The drives are specific. Like if you have drives in the non-default location, so NVMe's in older machines, you need to specify it. After installing the Talos CTL, which you do like I did using the brew command, it's fairly straightforward, it's on their website. Yeah, so I use brew to install it, and again it's got alternative installations where you can just install it with Carl. If you were to look at the quick start, if it loads, there we go. We can run through, you got some stuff here. So during the quick start, they've got create cluster, define a node, and that's kind of it. Getting started, so if you had a one control plane, one worker node, I would say go through the getting started process. I would say it's clear enough. I actually worked with a mixture of getting started and production clusters and all sorts, and then I went from here to, where was it I went to? I went to something else. Configuring Talos, load balancer. I ended up going to VIP, wherever VIP is. VIP is somewhere here. Where is it? VIP. There you go, yeah. So I started looking at like this kind of section here. So that's okay. But if I was to go back to my README, I've tried to make this a little bit straightforward. I've tried to make it easier. So we have the Talos. We're going to create secrets. This is so we can further connect to it and keep all our certificates and keys safe. By running this command, it will generate secrets, and it will also give us our config. So we've got the control plane, we've got the workers, and our Talos config. The next thing I went ahead and did is for the machines that had SDA, I went into, this is for the control plane, so you do the control plane first. So if I was to jump into the config, there's a lot of information here. Like it's predefined, everything's commented out. So instead of trying to work in this huge section here, I actually just added it lines 72 to 77. What I'm telling it, it's going to use its network interface. It's going to use the default network interface that it has, because I've just got it plugged in with Ethernet. Haven't got the wireless turned on. And this is the VIP IP. That is it. Everything else is default that came out of the Talos command. And then equally, for the NVMEs, I told it to use NVMe1. I also enabled this wipe. So basically what I wanted it to do was just wipe what was ever on there. If there was something on there previously, just wipe it, kill it, and then go from there. This just defines the image, which is already predefined as well. But for my reference, I just wanted to be clear, that's the version that I'm using. It's always important to make sure that the version that you're using matches the CLI tool that you're using, because otherwise you get mismatched and it just all goes wrong. Oh So yeah, so we've covered that I've defined the machine for the installation disk where it's going to go. We've covered the shared IP address that they're going to use. And when it came to the configuration deployment, so as you know, we went through that. The first step, we showed it, plug in the USB, boots up, it's in maintenance mode. Once it's in maintenance mode, you fire these commands, one after the other. Okay, I did anyway. Like, you do it how you see fit. This worked for me. I've already defined my IP address, so I know it's 181, so I run this command. This command will then use the control plane YAML that I have updated. So I've updated the hard drive, I've updated the VIP IP, and it will apply that configuration. That's it. That feels a little bit repetitive. It's a one-time thing, so that's not too bad. And I did it for all three control planes. Once the control planes were up, I could define my endpoints, which is something that Talos uses to see the control planes. The next very important step is to bootstrap etcd. etcd can only be applied, or should only be applied, to one of the control planes. So I just fired it off at control plane 1 because, yeah. But if you did this on any of the other control planes, it'll probably cause errors. It won't probably, it will cause errors, so don't do it. Only one control plane. I've emphasized it here, they emphasize it on their documentation as well. And then I can follow the health if I wanted to, but I was actually plugged into the machine on my monitor, so I was watching the health on there. Worker node setup, like I said, very similar to the control plane, apart from we're using a completely different YAML file. Here, I haven't got any network information defined here. The only thing I'm defining here is the installation disk, where it's going. So the name of the disk and that I'm going to wipe it, nothing else. And with that said, I would go ahead and I would run my three commands again, applying the config one after the other against each node IP address. Once that's done, pull out the ISO, it's going to reboot, and we should see it nice and healthy. And that's it. Done. Boom. Talos deployed. Yeah, it's in terms of building a cluster with multiple nodes and like connecting them all together. Once I got past all my headaches, it was a lot easier because I think with K3s I would have to go ahead and add, I would have to get the secret and then I'd have to run the command to attach the node to the control plane using the secret. And yeah, it's a little bit of hassle. Whereas this, if I wanted to actually lift and shift it, I've got it all here now, and I can do it. I haven't got to go in and get new secrets. I haven't got SSH in and find information there either. I also put here a little piece about if I was going to upgrade it because I was testing that as well. Once everything's done and everything is healthy, we can pull the kubeconfig. Defining this file here is where the config is going to go. So Talos is going to go pull it and construct it. You can put it to whatever you want. I defined it in my normal kubeconfig, just the default, so that when I run kubectl get nodes, everything comes there, everything appears, and this is what it should look like. So if I was to have a look at let's have a look, let's get a new terminal session. If I was to have a look and go kubectl, oh, hello, kubectl get nodes, you can see here, look, literally been up 7 hours, 5 hours, yeah? Obviously, you can see that it took me, some time to actually figure out what was wrong with my other two nodes. These two and 3, were the ones that were on NVMe drives, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me what was going on. It's because the default in here, in worker YAML, this is SDA, I think. Can I undo it? Would it show me? Yeah, the default is SDA. And I'm like telling it to use SDA. Oh no. I'm telling it to use SDA, and it doesn't need to use this. Yeah, it's my own fault. And hey, serves me right for not fully reading through the entire YAML file. I didn't know that was there. But what I can say now is that I've learned a lot about setting up Talos start to finish in both a quick start and also a high availability 3 control plane, 3 worker nodes. I also added some verification steps here to help some people. I also put some of the problems I was having in terms of the errors that were coming up when this input-output error was coming up when I accidentally installed it on the USB. Just things to watch out for. The other fun thing I wanted to quickly show you, which is, well, it's fun for me, but not for everyone. So you can see there, them nodes, everything, 5-7 hours old, so it's not a long time. But if I was to get my pods, QCTL Git pods, right? You can see that, I've managed to populate most of it already, apart from Keycloak, excuse that one. And it's already running. And how is that? Well, that is with the power of GitOps. I fire a bootstrap command at my pre-existing Flux config, and there you go, I'm off to the races. I even think, if I look carefully, I will have my 192, not that, 192, 209. So here, you can see I'm running Grafana again. Previously, I actually had Grafana running on a standalone server, but now I've switched to high availability. I've gone back to in-cluster Grafana. I know, I don't know why I do it to myself. But if I was to look at the control plane, boom, here we go. You can see everything up and running. And this is what I love about declarative, GitOps, and something like Flux or Argo doing the deployments. In terms of spinning up everything I already had and everything that I've been working on and developing, it's here. I've just got to do the bootstrap. So, I have one problem which I'm working through, which you can see here, which is Keycloak. It's probably an IP conflict. But, right now, I'll sort it out later. But I've got all my dashboards, everything's here. You can see now, let's have a look. Is it this one? Not that one. Cube there, I want the exporter for the nodes. There we go, yep. So we can see here, so all of my nodes are now broken down into individual nodes. I've got 6 nodes. CPU is like nothing. Load is nothing. Memory is using next to nothing. So yeah, this one's configured with 16 gigs, 16 gigs, 8 cores. And I think these ones are 5. That can't be right. 4 cores. Yeah, so I've got 2 machines on they're the 2200s, they're on 4 cores, and then the 2400s are on 8 cores. But yeah, like this is looking pretty good, I think. Solid. Yeah, and I'll take a picture of it as well. Look, here, I'll put it on the screen. Obviously, I haven't got my tab. Oh, just knocked my light. Don't mind me. Yeah, I'll take a picture. Obviously, I don't have the tablet configured right now with my logs, but I'm actually going to use this. I had this as a dashboard before. I'm now going to use it just for logs so that I can see the logs come up. And I'm going to use the Mac as a standalone kiosk display, maybe running Pi-hole as well. But yeah, I mean, you can see it here. It's not pretty. I might get a case for it. I might not get a case for it. I don't think I'm that bothered. Because it looks okay. I'll probably end up putting it in the basement again anyway. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are running your own Homelab, I'd love to know what you're running it on. Are you still using K3s? Have you made the switch to Talos? Or are you using something else? Are you a champion and are you using like Kubernetes the hard way? Maybe one day, but I have no desire to do that again anytime soon. I've done it a few times. No, thank you. Leave a comment below and thanks for watching.